Well, chairman of the Fed, I'd put in the absolutely, positively, no chance, no way, no how, for any reason.
Okay.
Secretary of Treasury, I would consider, if a president calls you up and asks you to do something, you should consider it. So I would take the call and consider it and think about why and what they want, et cetera. But what they want and how they want to operate, that would be important to me. I like my job. I've been my own boss for pretty much 25 years, and I like it that way. I was in Peru at the APEC meeting or something like that, and I was coming on stage like this, a televised thing, and as I was walking up, the person who questioned me, I think it was from Bloomberg, said, the president just tweeted that he likes you or something like that, but you're not going to be Secretary of Treasury. And she asked me on national TV. So I said, that's good because I like being my own boss.
So when
we both like it that way.
When the Great Recession happened, were you worried about the viability of our financial system? Your bank was in pretty good shape. Were we worried that many investment banks and commercial banks were going to go under at that time?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them did. And a lot of companies around the world, a lot of non-banks around the world went bankrupt. JPMorgan, we did a lot to keep people afloat. We took a lot of risks to do that. We worked with governments around the world. It was terrifying. And it was, 24/7, and people were just trying to do the right thing to make sure, we kept the.
Do you think there's a chance of something like that happening next couple of years? Do you think we're much better protected from that kind of problem?
Well, there's no chance that you're going to have that kind of problem, but there are chances you'll have a problem somewhere, somehow. The biggest unknown is geopolitics, and it's not like, and you have to be dangerous and careful you talk about it. It's not like that's going to determine what the economy does in 2026, but it is a moving tectonic plate. Alliances, obviously there's terrible war in Ukraine, which we need to do as much as we can to help Ukraine, but aided and abetted by and Russia, somewhat by China. Those folks have told you what they want to do. They want to dismantle the system set up, they think, by America, but it's set up by the Western world. After World War II, it's been quite successful. There are a lot of forces at play. And and people are going to have to choose, how they want to play this for now. So that would be my greatest concern, and that's about the future of the free democratic world. That's not just about America.
Are you worried about the over-regulation that some people in the banking world think that is occurring now, or do you think the regulations are okay now?
My biggest, the problem with regulations, when you talk to some people, it's always act like it's more or less. Well, and a lot of you deal with regulations. I think you can create more liquidity in the system, more capital uses, more lending capability, reduce rules and regulations which cause, when there's complaints about debanking and complaints about X, I think we could make the system better, work better, cheaper, work for more Americans, and safer. And what bothers me the most is when we talk about regulations, that no one ever steps back and say, what are we trying to accomplish? Or why do we want to accomplish it? And what's better, this or that? Because no matter what you do, there are pros and cons. So take the system as, banks are very strong today, but take the system as a whole, we've gone from 8,000 public companies to 4,000 public companies. Is that what we wanted? Because that's what we did. We did it with no forethought, without even thinking about it. But it was, years of rules and regulations that made it costly and litigious and hard. And, we let institutions like ISS and Glass Lewis, vote 30% of the shares in America. And so, I'm quite concerned about that we get regulations right. We all want safe financial system, and safe food, and safe, but it doesn't mean you have to have endless regulations. Regulations should be reviewed and improved all the time, as opposed to what we do today. I put that in a lot of policy. We just add things on top of things. And if you look at policy in America, well, our affordable housing, it's all about policy. Zoning policies, permitting policies, housing policies. It's all about policy. It's got not a damn thing to do that people don't want to build homes or move into homes. And I could say the same about a mortgage business. We made it more expensive because of rules and regulations. Education. We don't measure the outcomes of high schools and community colleges and colleges. How many jobs do they get at what income levels? And we can do it. So look at work skills. We're going to need 200,000 welders. We need welding schools. So if government's going to have policies, you have policy that aids and abets and incents and has the guardrails to create the right behaviors, not endless policies that slow things down, which is what we have. We're slowly going the way of Europe. Europe, you may not know this, has gone from 90% per person GDP of America to 65%. That's what they've done. It was all policy. A lot of the policy done in the name of good. And that's what we do all the time. We're endless, rules and regulations that create these things. I also think you all should learn to call it not red tape, but blue tape. Blue tape. Okay, the Democrats love that crap. And then they want to make it litigious, that every flaw that ever happens is on purpose by bad people. So policy, we need good policy. And we're going to be fighting much more for good policy this year at JPMorgan.
So recently, there's been some comment by you about the independence of the Federal Reserve Board. What more might you want to say about your view about the importance of the independence of the Federal Reserve Board?
Yeah, too much ink gets spilled on certain things. Everyone I know, including the President of the United States, says we need an independent Fed board. Most people I know, including the President of the United States, speak up about their opinion, which they're free to do. Some say it more aggressively than others. That's their right. The question is only about when certain things take place, and think of lawsuits and stuff like that, does it chip away at that independence? There's some spectrum. So you can say a little bit, you can say a lot, but you don't want to chip away too much, because if you chip away too much, in my view, this is my opinion, it will drive rates higher, not lower. That's all.